Hey, left, right, out. I was going to talk about an article that goes along the lines we were talking about the housing crisis that's developing in concentration of where these houses are being bought, along with the fractional reserve system. But we had the Republican debate last night, so I wanted to touch on that because I actually watched that. I listened to a little bit of Trump's thing with Tucker, but in all honesty, I wanted to see the debate itself just to see the state of the Republican Party, to be totally honest, when it comes to these kind of the politicians that are being put forth. And if it's not clear now who should be in the running for vice president, one, the people on the stage we were missing one guy that I know of. I didn't know who like two or three people were on stage that I didn't even realize they were running for president. I didn't know the governor of North Dakota, who had some good lines, to be honest, and then Ava Hutchinson. Like, who dug that guy back up? But anyway, Larry Elder was, not there for some reason. I guess he didn't make the debate, but he should have probably been there over Ava Hutchinson, which is pretty crazy that he wasn't there. But anyway, the debate was just a crap show. And if it's not clear who is the front runner out of the group, it should be pretty evident if you watch that Vivek Ramaswamy, who is kind of my pick overall when it comes to policy, it should be the front runner, excluding Trump, right? And then maybe DeSantis underneath there, but there's some other people that should just not be running, right, at all. And that was to go down the list there. There's the Ava Hutchinson, with all due respect to the governor of North Dakota, who I actually kind of like a little bit. He's on I agree with him on a number of topics, but he probably shouldn't be running. And then the Chris Christie, warmonger, destroyer of Krispy Kremes, should be gone. Nikki Haley, what in the world is this chick doing on there? One, she's threw a couple of lines out there that kind of isolated the Republican base, especially talking about bringing up the kind of a feminist argument almost, by referring to men as only talkers, and women using that, what's that? The English Prime Minister's, her quote, saying you need a woman to get things done. Is like, this is craziness. She just isolated. That was the spear in any kind of campaign she had. Plus her stance on the Ukrainian war. I know I'm talking a little bit fast, but I'm just trying to get through this a little bit, and hopefully we do this in a timely manner so that I can talk about these other issues. But if not, this is just about the Republican debate. But Nikki Haley, done. Chris Christie, with his little Ukrainian spiel about how Russia's treating a bunch of, maybe some of that's true, but he's completely steps over the fact that the Ukrainian government is oppressing a number of religious and political parties. It's become completely totalitarian. To begin with, they were the most corrupt state in the world. I've actually been there. I've trained those Ukrainian Marines and soldiers. I've been on the ground in that country right after the Maidan Revolution, or coup, or whatever you want to call it. The very thing that we are the ones who went in there and destabilized that in order to get a pro-Western government. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. Yeah, he went and did his little pilgrimage over there, as Ramaswamy talks about. But they have no clue. They are warmongers. This is the same line of thought that has gotten us into a number of endless wars with no clear strategy of how to do anything, and it's just a waste of resources. Nikki Haley acted like spending, she said, under 3% of our defense budget. I was like, wait, we're almost 3% of our defense budget is going to Ukraine. We're running out of our own ammunition. We should be protecting our own borders, and we're not. It's that just right there, that number. It freezes me right now when I hear it. It's absolute craziness. So you got a bunch of warmongers out there. If you noticed, every time a question was asked that was controversial, especially after the first few minutes, everybody hesitated when they were asked to raise their hand. Everybody hesitated to raise their hand unless it was Vivek. He immediately, despite what he thought the crowd was going to do, he was convicted on his principles. He raised his hand immediately. Everybody else barely did this, or they waited to hear what the crowd was going to do, with various answers. It was craziness. And when it comes to pardoning Trump, when it comes to that stuff, these guys were throwing Trump under the bus besides Vivek. He immediately raised his hand. Everybody else kind of, pardoning to the crowd, and then, just kind of trying to see where the wind blew on that one. It's absolutely craziness. Pence kept trying to attack Vivek and talk about his inexperience a little bit and whatnot, at the same time giving us these typical, I call them the Harry Reid sob stories about how he did this, and he does those weird inflections like a typical politician, polished dude. And it was pretty much summarized fairly well by a gentleman that I follow, Peter Schiff, on Twitter, or X, or whatever you want to call it, talking about the only one with no experience, or I'm just summarizing what he said you're right, he doesn't have any experience, but he's the only one with, or how do you say it? He's like the only one with no experience with taking an oath through the Constitution and completely disregarding it and voting for, consistent, voting us into even more debt, money printing, endless wars, blah, blah, is Vivek. Yeah, he has no experience in all of that stuff. Thus, those other things are like disqualifying factors. These people all had their time. They had their experience. They have screwed the pooch. They keep thinking that we're the world's police officers. And the other thing is, I think Vivek's the only one that said anything about monetary policy when it comes to economics. Granted, I mean, a lot of people don't understand it, and including the people that are trying to run for president up there. So that, I forgot Tim Scott shouldn't be running either. Typical politician. But anyway, he's the only one that you talked about addressing the Fed and dollar stabilization, and then amongst other things. So Vivek should be Trump's VP, in my opinion, or at least a cabinet member. I don't see anybody up there that's qualified to be Trump's VP. So if it was me, Vivek or Carrie Lake is probably the top two right there, because all these other dudes and females that were up there on the stage are the check pants Republicans, the very people that got us into where we're at, the very people that took us in the war, wasted trillions in resources, and pretty much destroyed entire generations in this country. The other good one-liner that Vivek had, and I just popped in my head, was when Pence was acting like Vivek brought up the mental health crisis and pretty much a social war, and here comes Pence, the American people, this like cliche crap that we all know is of the past now. We all here in real America understand that we're in economic turmoil, social turmoil, that we are searching for our vision of what America is, that we're in this cultural pseudo-civil war. And Vivek's like, well, what's this, Good Morning America, whatever slogan? It's like, you're not in the real world, Pence. What kind of Martha's Vineyard bull, crap are you talking about? The rest of us in this country, outside of your little enclave, are struggling to figure out what the hell's going on. The American dream is dead. It's but a memory in a book at this point. And we can get it back by living through certain principles. But at this point, if we keep going down this road where we just pretend that it's still alive, it's a road to ruin, or even more so than it is. Like, keep talking about the foundation, and economically it's just been completely eroded. So Vivek is my choice. If I was Trump, I'd get him on board. He can also, Vivek, I think, can help steer Trump in the right direction when it comes to these finding the people that need to be taken out, the departments that are taken out, I mean by like fired. So YouTube, or if I put this on YouTube, won't censor me, but finding the people that need to be fired, finding the cuts in certain departments, or to completely cut certain departments out. I mean, I can think of a couple right off the top of my head that you can might as well just like cut their budget, and also to get him in more of a libertarian leaning, to understand the real reason, the real economics from Austrian perspective, or at least a laissez-faire free market perspective, which is what America's supposed to be about. And then the only reason I say like Carrie Lake is because I'd rather him pick her over any of those people on the stage if Vivek is not going to be on the ticket with him or in some kind of, high level post. Now, I think I was going to get into this housing shortage thing, but I believe that needs its own video, because 10 minutes in, most people only watch for 10 minutes anyway, maybe 15. So I'm going to save that. So we'll keep going on this a little bit. Now, on the Trump issue, we'll go to that. So Vivek's my winner on that stage of Republican debate. Honorable mention to Ron DeSantis. I actually thought he did okay, but like Vivek says, he's kind of bought and paid for. He's kind of committing Harry Carey on his career here, his political career. He had, in the beginning, I know there was talks between his side and Trump's kind of aligning, and this kind of goes to show you that even these guys that you like can turn on you pretty quickly if they're not grounded in principle. And also, they keep claiming that Florida is this bastion of COVID amnesty or whatever during the thing, and he's actually like Florida's the only state that stayed open the whole time. I remember correct me if I'm wrong, Florida locked down for a little bit. The only state that I can say for a fact, because I was there driving through that state constantly, that didn't lock down, didn't have any restrictions, that didn't give two rats asses about what was going on with South Dakota. And Kristi Noem, to her credit, which would also be a good cabinet member, but I think I like having a great governor in a great state, and keeping her in that post. But that state, I'd go through and it felt like America. And you go to these other states and it's like, well, you better have your mask and you better stay away from here, and you can only have so many people in here. Oh, we're closed in these weird hours. South Dakota didn't give two rats asses, and it was amazing. It was great. But anyway, Trump on X with Tucker, I only listened to a little bit of it, but the only thing that alarmed me about with Trump was I know this is like a real side issue, but at the same time, I was like, well, is Trump placating to certain people when he has this view? Was the Epstein thing. I was like, does he really think that Epstein killed himself? And he said, well, he thinks he does, but you can see how other people. It's like we look at what we know about what happened in Epstein's cell, the fact that they has those really easily terrible clothes, or terrible, like they come apart, so with the intent so you can't commit suicide utilizing whatever the bed sheets and the clothes that you have on there. The fact that there are cameras that have you under surveillance in those cells, that those cameras just kind of like go out randomly, that you have logbooks that have been tampered with, that you have people that are asleep. This alignment of coincidences that just so happen to end up in his death, and you take all the incentives to kill him, you take all the dirt that he has on him, you take the client list that still hasn't been released. All you have is really the logbooks and some other things. You take how the FBI reacted to that when they were on that island, and there's video footage. You can call it conspiracy theory or not. It's not really. Yeah, I mean, conspiracy theories are real. They're not always people smoking in the back rooms. But anyway, there's video footage of the FBI like taking these servers and hard drives or whatnot from the island. You don't hear anything about those anymore. You don't get to see what's really on that stuff. There's all kinds of things that have happened there that lead you to believe that there's something. You can't come to the definitive conclusion that he killed himself. And the pathologists that came out afterwards and said there was the hyoid bone was cracked, which is indicative of like some kind of like somebody actually choking somebody else. Or not indicative of suicide, but of like a homicide. And I'm sitting here thinking, why is Trump saying this? So I don't know if he really believes that. I mean, it's like you can say like, hey, I lean to the fact that he probably didn't kill himself. I'd have accepted that answer, like Tucker. It's like the overwhelming evidence right now suggests that somebody probably killed himself. Obviously I don't definitively know, but I heavily lean that way, to the point where it's like 85% where this is obviously a hit job, to 90% I'm open to the possibility of somehow him killing himself from I don't know how he would have done it, and do it successfully, but The story that we were given is not truth. So I don't know what Trump was thinking on that. That kind of, it just gave me a visceral feeling when he said something like that. But anyway, yeah, Trump's, because people the right people hate him. That's why I'll support him. And if he puts the right people in office. Now, something that I called Trump out on a long time ago was Bill Barr, John Bolton, all that jazz. And he's come out against Bill Barr, thankfully, because Bill Barr is bushy, and he's been tied in with the Clintons, back for a number of years. All what do you call it, cleanup jobs this guy's been been involved with, along with, and Bolton's just a warmonger. But Bolton's got ties to some, weird organizations too, Middle Eastern organizations, so it's kind of crazy. But Barr himself is basically a cleanup guy for Bush and, establishment types. And it's pretty well known. I don't know why he put him in there. I know when he did, I was like, this is craziness. If he wants to drain the swamp, you can't put a swamp monster, to use whatever the conventional GOP term is now, to clean the swamp up. That's like you put the chief's swamp monster on the case. Of course he's gonna drag his feet on certain things. Of course he's not gonna look into the election stuff. Of course he's not gonna look into the Epstein stuff. Of course he's not gonna look into the Clinton stuff. Of course he's gonna drag his feet on Biden things. Of course he's not gonna look at Seth Rich's death or whatever. So I know I just threw that one out there because I always think about Seth. Of course you're not going to look at Anthony Scalia's death. They're all these, I'll keep bringing that one up because I haven't forgotten. I haven't forgotten about Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia and his suspicious death. But anyway, I guess that's it because 17 minutes in. Next video, if I remember, try to say this article, we'll go deeper into another theory in the housing market that it's not another real theory. It ties into what I've been telling you and gives you a little bit more depth into what is actually going into the housing market right now and what is in play and why things have skyrocketed, why prices haven't corrected to the extent that they should, and they will eventually, but just the timeliness of it is hindered because of certain things that are going on in there, certain concentrations of ownership. But we'll see that. I'll talk to you later about that. Anyway,